In this screencast, we're going to set up the documents that you will use to create the front page of your magazine and the feature spread, which will be your own interview feature. So before we set up the document, we need to change the measurements on InDesign and make sure that we are all working with millimeters, because we all need to be working with the same measurements, and the computers in the university are likely to be preset to a different measurement. So to do that, we need to go to our preferences menu. So up on the top menu bar here, my preferences menu is under InDesign CC because I'm on a Mac here. If you're in on the university's computers, you will find preferences under the edit menu down the bottom. Should be somewhere near the bottom. But it's preferences that you're looking for. So if I go into my preferences, you can see there, that's all the stuff you should see. To change the measurements, we need to go into units and increments. So if I click on that, you'll see this box appears here. The only things you need to change are these two boxes here, horizontal and vertical. On yours, they may well look like this, and they set in picas, which we don't want. It's an American measurement system. It doesn't really mean a lot to us. So we need to change that. So you go to your drop down menu in horizontal and go to millimeters, and then you go to your drop down vertical menu and go to millimeters. Don't worry about the rest of the boxes on the page. It's just those two you need to look at. So once horizontal and vertical have been changed to millimeters, I click OK. And now I'm going to set up my document. So you should come to this screen on InDesign. This is a startup screen. These are recently used documents. You mightn't have a list like this. And as you can see, you can open new documents or go to existing ones, whichever. If you don't see the startup screen, you can go to File and New and Document. And that's the same thing. It depends whether you're on the startup screen or not. You probably will be. So I'm going to click New, and the new document box appears. And this is where we pick the size of the page, the number of the pages, and other details like columns and margins. So the first box we need to change is the number of pages. You've got to do a front page and an interview feature spread, which is at least 2 pages. It might be more if you have a lot of pictures, but it's a minimum of 3 pages that you're going to need. So we're going to set it at 3. We can add more if you need them, that's not a problem, but for now we'll go with the minimum of 3. Make sure facing pages is ticked. You need that. And then you go down to page size. If you go to the drop down menu and page size, you should see something like this. May have a few different options, but it gives you different size pages to choose from. Or if you go to custom, you can actually set your own measurements. But I'm going to go with A4 because it's a common one for magazines. But the page size you pick does depend on the publication that you're working on. If your target publication is a Sunday magazine type, a Sunday newspaper magazine, then it might be A3, but it might not. It might be A4, and some glossies are actually A5. So it does depend on the publication that you're targeting. So I'm going to go with A4. As you can see, the measurements underneath are in millimeters. Then I go down to columns. You don't see these columns on the printed product, but you do see them, but you do need to work with them when you're placing your text and your pictures on the page. The columns help you keep everything lined up. So I'm going for A4, I'm going to set it at 5. If you were on a different size publication, you might use more columns, but for A4, 5. I'm going to set it at 5 columns. The gutter, which is the space between the columns, I'm just going to take down to 4 millimeters. On your margins, yours might be set at different measurements. Again, margins differ from publication to publication, but just to round it up, I'm going to set mine to 10 and 10 millimeters. And you can see as I move the measurement down on the top one, it changes all the others as well. So all my margins are 10 millimeters. So on this box, you should have 10 millimeter margins, 5 columns, a 4 millimeter gutter, a page size of A4 or something different if you know that you're targeting a different publication, and 3 pages. And then I'm going to click OK. And then you should see this. This is your first page where you'll put your front page. It's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. And if we scroll down using this bar at the side, you should see underneath another 2 facing pages, each with 5 columns. And this is where you will lay out your interview feature. So after you have set up the document, the next most important thing to do is save it. So in the usual fashion, you go to File, Save. I'm going to save mine on my desktop. You can save yours in your documents. Probably best if you save yours in your documents. I'm going to save mine on my desktop, and I'm going to call it Mag Production Project. Okay, and then I'm going to click Save. So every time you work on that, every time you work on these pages, you will always open this document, Magazine Production Project, or whatever you choose to call it, and make sure you have it saved somewhere that you can access wherever you're working in the university. It's really important that when we have the InDesign sessions that you are able to access your actual document so we can make the most of it and change everything that we need to change. So that's it. That's your document set up now.